We're live!
Ok, nå stopper vi.
Kan jeg gå?
Du kan gå hvis du vil.
Eller skal vi gjøre noe mer?
Jeg skal si her. Nei, du kan ikke gå forresten. Welcome to another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with pirate Queen Raae. I'm your host, Captain Ola Vea, and this is the Pirate Princess.
Yoo-hoo! Okay.
Okay.
Nå da.
Oi. And now I'm unfocused. This camera does not want to cooperate today. Ah! I'm in focus again! I'm in focus again.
Nå skal vi begynne. Du kan være her.
Okay, so
Opp.
are you ready?
Yes.
Are you ready?
Yes.
Ready?
Yes.
What have you been working on this week?
Kan du gå oppover?
I have been working on initiating global states in Cloudinary Gatsby Transformer Cloudinary, but
That is
also
correct.
Gatsby Source Cloudinary. Ooh.
Yes. Yes.
And
So
I
we-
made the code with emojis instead of words.
so you
So
can
that
remember
it's
it
easier
better,
to
I
do
guess.
it because I'm
Yes.
doing it again. Oh, there's a message from the Pirate Princess. Du må ta
What's the
hovedbyen.
message?
She says, "When can I go?"
When can I go? You can go. Ha
Du kan
there.
gå.
Go to your project.
Yes, she's building a dinosaur.
So I think that today's topic, though, is quite fitting for our culinary work because we are going to be looking at I think quite heavily used, I didn't check their stats, but a really good plugin for remote images. So this is a plugin that lets you, if you have a link to a remote image, it lets you download that into your build and have it as part of your build. And what's so great, we talked about why that is great on other streams because we have been adding this code ourselves, both to get the, I'm going to change up because I'm looking at you the wrong way. There we go. Both to get the YouTube thumbnails in our YouTube Source OEmbed plugin. And also when we're doing the web scraping demo with Scraping Bee, we also did a stream where we added Gatsby ImageCDN to that. And then to the YouTube one, we added both downloading the files into our build as local files and also as ImageCDN. And when I found this plugin, I kind of heard about this plugin before, but then I suddenly saw it the other day that it actually does that code that we've done, download the file using create remote file and then connecting it to the node, like to the node that it's, not the node actually, but the, what's it called, like the GraphQL type. Anyway, connecting those together.
Inessa is here.
Oh, yay!
Hello, Inessa.
Hello.
I'll read him. Hi there.
Ooh, I like Inessa's voice. No, so and one of the good things about Gatsby, is that there are plugins for everything. Sometimes it can be a little confusing, but sometimes it's nice because then we don't have to repeat code all the time. So instead of for our future Scraping Bee plugin and our YouTube plugin and all of these plugins, instead of us repeating the code over and over again for how to handle these remote images, we can do it using Grayson's remote image files. And then I asked, hey, maybe you should add, ImageCDN support to this plugin so that you can choose if you want to download the images locally or if you want to use the Gatsby ImageCDN. And we're going to do that next week. So Grayson is coming on next week and we are going to add Gatsby ImageCDN support to his plugin. But I thought today, let's get to know the plugin and see what it does today and see how we can remove or not code a lot of things. Yeah. You want to do the Tinkerbell? The Tinkerbell.
And now it's so much easier. Oh, Oh, Inessa says,
Nailed it.
yeah,
That's exactly.
you nailed it. I think he's talking about the voids, don't you?
I think so. So
It's
the
so much
what?
easier to hold the what now.
Yeah,
What?
so we are gonna utilize Gatsby plugin remote image S plugin, so we don't have to repeat code for very kind of typical situation in our own plugin or in our own demo.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the why. We do it so we don't have to repeat code that
Why?
is already out there and working. And let's utilize the Gatsby plugin ecosystem and have things play together. Little
Yes.
building blocks. Okay, so I'm gonna move you guys up.
Hey, you did the what and the why now.
Yeah, and then we're gonna do
Yeah.
the how,
Yeah.
I guess.
Yeah.
So I had a little bit of a malfunction. Oh, there we are. So I thought so the how is to use this plugin, and we're going to get into the nitty-gritty details. But I thought I'll show you where we're at and then what we want to do.
Yes.
So we have this plugin that heads on over to my Crowdcast page and web scrapes all of these events. With all its data and also the image. But if we have a look at this image, like if we open this image in another window, we'll see that this is the image we got from Crowdcast. So it's on one of Crowdcast's domain. Actually, they use ImageCDN under the hood, but they kind of own this image. So if something happens to their servers, or if they change kind of how they generate these URLs, our build will fail, because suddenly when, you go to our build site, this image won't work anymore. So a way to solve that is to download these images as part of our build, so that we know they will always be there and we can treat them as local image files, like we do with normal images that we have inside the folders inside of our Gatsby site. And to do that, we could code it ourselves and use create remote file node. And we've done that in several streams. I'll try to link to those in the demo. But today we are going to use Grayson Hicks Gatsby remote image.
Yes.
So let's just kind of follow his description here. And also, as always, we like to hang out in the graphical explorer so we can see better what we are working with. So if we head on over to our Crowdcast webinar, we'll see that we already have that cover source. It's the link to that image. So we kind of scrape that off of Crowdcast and we've put it into our node. And then we want to use that in some way. So let's follow his directions. So scroll down, let's install. So we want to install Gatsby plugin remote image. And I've already done that. And I do yarn add Gatsby plugin remote images because I use yarn. Otherwise, you can do npm install. So we've done that. Just pretend I did it, because we don't want to do that on stream. It takes too long. And then we'll copy his configurations here. So we'll just copy these configurations, head on over to our Gatsby config file. And as you can see, we only have one plugin in there, and that's the one that gives us the styling, because we are doing all of the work of scraping here in Gatsby node. Since this is a demo, we haven't created our own plugin. We just do it in the Gatsby node of our site. But now we're going to use the Gatsby plugin remote images plugin. And you can see here, you can kind of guess, like node type. I would guess that that's going to be the name of the node type. So let's go back to our graphical explorer, and we can see that our Crowdcast are called Crowdcast webinar. So our node type is Crowdcast webinar. And then it's the image path to image. So the path to my image is cover source. Let's go over to the documentation and just have a little bit of check. So you see here, it's the string path to the image you want to use relative to the node. So it uses Lodash's get under the hood. So there are different like depending on how your data structure is, you can use different ways of, formatting that string so that you get the correct data for your image. But for our case, it's quite easy because it's straight there on the node as cover source. So let's do cover source.
Papa.
And then we can go ahead and source or run this again. So we've changed our config file. We have to do yarn develop again. And we're probably going to be sourcing, quite a few pages. There we go. So you can see we sourced all these files. And now we're building our development bundle. But what I really like about this approach is that these images could then be sourced from anywhere, right? So if you've been using any kind of headless CMS, it could be, Strapi or Sanity or Contentful or any of these places, and you want to source those images into your site instead of using the images as is on their servers. This plugin will work with all of them because in these options here, we can add in that node type and the image path. And I really like this approach because then it's me using the plugin that kind of controls what it's going to change. The plugin itself doesn't kind of know what it's going to, what nodes it's going to work on. I decide what nodes it's going to work on. So let's go back. And here we are. So let's head on back to our graphical explorer and see if we have anything new happening. And you can see here, local image. There's our local image. Now it's downloaded into our system. You can see here, if we go to an absolute path, it's here inside of the cache, and it's been downloaded. And we could also, you will also be able to find it under your all files. It's going to be under here because it's now a file node, but we're going to keep on working on this. So we now have it used to cover source, and it downloaded that image from that URL, and it created a file, and it put that file on the local image key. But we can change that. So maybe we don't want to call it local image. Maybe I want to call it cover. And I can go back here, and I think it's name. Let's head on over to documentation. Yes, name. So instead of having it be called local image, maybe I want to call it cover. And I can give it that. So name, cover. That's pretty cool. And you can see that there's other types of extra options you have here. You can even do some authentication with HT access if the images are behind some kind of authentication. And since this happens from server to server, it's fine to put that in here. And there are some other little things that you can do if you need to. So that's kind of cool. But how do we, use this then with Gatsby image? So that's kind of lacking in this documentation. It's just about how you get that local file. But then we can head on over to the Gatsby plugin images documentation. And as you can see, we'll need to install Gatsby plugin image, Gatsby plugin sharp, and we don't need a source file system because we're not sourcing from the file system. We are getting them as as remote nodes, and Gatsby transformer sharp. And I have added all of those already. And then we'll add in these plugins for Gatsby config. So after we get these remote images, we can add in all of these other plugins, and we'll run our code again, and we should be able to see that we have some Gatsby image data on our node then under the cover key instead of local image key, since we gave it that name. What do you think, Ola? Pretty cool?
It's great.
Huh?
Yeah. I like it.
And I think that for the Cloudinary plugin, we should do kind of the same type of options where you can define the node type and the path to the information about the Cloudinary image. And then we won't download it because Cloudinary is a CDN, but then we can add all of the Gatsby image resolvers onto that node instead of creating new nodes. Okay. Inessa likes it. Pretty neat.
Yes.
And I mean, it will
Lillian?
be even
Yeah.
neater after next week when we also add in Gatsby ImageCDN, because then you'll
Yeah.
have another option here saying, okay, should this be a local file downloaded, or should we use the Gatsby CDN? And then you can use it for that as well.
I
Okay,
have a
what
message
were you
from
gonna
the
say?
Pirate Princess.
Yes.
She just found this little fella here on the loft.
So now we have a cover, and it has a child image sharp, and it has Gatsby image data. And let's say we want it to be 300 pixels wide. And look at that. We now have all the data we need to do Gatsby image. And we can even hover over and it will show us what the images are. So we're not going to go into much detail about the images, but so what the Gatsby plugin remote images does is that it takes this URL from the cover source field, downloads it, creates a file, and then Gatsby Transformer Sharp takes all files that are images and adds a sharp node, or creates a sharp node from it, and then it adds that to the file node as child image sharp. So that's how all of these plugins work together, and we don't have to do everything in our own code. So if we keep on going, let's go back to our index page then and use the Gatsby image. Gatsby image and get image from Gatsby plugin image. And then we also need to ask for it. So what is it? It's cover. We don't need cover source anymore. We do cover child image sharp Gatsby image data. And we'll grab the cover. And then this get image helper is so that we don't have to always remember that it's like child image sharp, blah, 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 blah. We can just give it the cover and get the image. So const image equals get image cover, and then we can use the image in our Gatsby image component. Pretty sure this is the same as doing cover child image sharp dot Gatsby image data, but this is a much nicer way of doing it. Because if anything happens and this kind of changes how this is asked for, the get image would change and we wouldn't have to know kind of the structure all the way down.
Oh.
Okay, so hopefully this works then.
Yeah.
And we can see that it gets the, because I think that's the default, it gets the dominant color as the background. So if you follow if you look at this very carefully, you'll see that it's like a little bit of a greenish beige in the back there while the images load in. And you can use all of the other different settings in your Gatsby plugin sharp, or is it transformer sharp defaults? Let's see. Here, no. Here, yes. So in our Gatsby plugin sharp, we could change all of the defaults, or we can change them specifically when we're asking for it. So placeholder is dominant color. It's the default. But let's ask for a little bit of a larger image. So let's do 900. And then quality maybe. No, let's just do 900 because I think it was a little small. There we go. There we go. Okay.
Yeah.
I guess that's all. This is the shortest stream ever.
Yeah.
But I guess we can manage to talk some more. If anyone has any questions. Do you have any questions, Ola?
No. Not
No.
really. No.
So our Gatsby plugin remote images takes the URL that is found
are you
on
summing it up? Are you summing it up? No?
Maybe I will. I was just like chatting while, maybe somebody had any questions. I was just like trying to stall for time.
Oh. Let's not do that. It's okay with a short one.
It's a short stream. Let's do a short one.
That's
okay.
Great. I like it.
I'll summarize. So what we utilize the Gatsby plugin ecosystem so we don't have to, and the why is so we don't have to code things ourselves or repeat code again and again in our plugins or our sites. So specifically, we use Gatsby plugin-remote images to handle remote images, and in this case, downloading them into our build. And then next week we'll be adding Gatsby CDN support to Gatsby plugin remote images, and then you can choose if you want to download it to your build or if you want to utilize the Gatsby image CDN. And I'll explain how it works. So Gatsby plugin remote images, with these options, look at all Crowdcast webinar nodes. Then it heads to the node kind of .cover source, the cover source on the node, and it uses that as the URL to its remote image. So that's the image path. So in this case, cover source. It actually then downloads that image into our cache, creating a file node for it. After creating the file node, it adds that file node onto the node underneath the key cover. So we'll find it under cover. It kind of sources from cover source, or the image path, in our case, cover source, and then it adds it as a cover field on the node, or it adds a resolver cover that then resolves to our new file node. And then these are our regular image plugins. And the Gatsby Transformer Sharp is the one that then looks at all of these created file nodes and checks it. It looks at all file nodes, but also the one that Gatsby plugin remote images have downloaded. And then it sees, is this an image? And if it's an image, it does all of that beautiful Gatsby image stuff for us using Sharp, so that we then can do node, cover, and then child image Sharp, as we're used to doing with our local files. And that's how we can get all of the plugins working together in harmony.
Yeah.
Harmony. Isn't there like a song I could sing here? Ooh, harmony. I feel like there's a Michael Jackson song or something. Yeah. But that's, I feel, is pretty great, because we've been doing the YouTube source demo, we've been doing the scraping bee demo and other work where we need to do this again and again, and that's when it's like beautiful that there's already a plugin out there that is working really well that can do that for us. Yep,
that is great.
Inception. I forgot to close my screen.
Okay, Lilian, du må komme.
Nå.
Ja.
Hva er det vi skal
Vi skal si ha det.
Ha!
Det er supert, det vel.
Someone thought I was too short of a stream. She's not finished with her project.
Du trenger ikke å være med, Lilian. Du må ikke.
Mute you again until you've
Oh.
I muted you. Okay, sorry. Until you figure that out. So how is everyone doing while we wait for the Pirate Princess? And I'm really looking forward to having Grayson on next week while we walk through his plugin, adding Gatsby CDN support. Oh, Meltwater is here. Just came in time for the summary. Do you want to read, Ola?
Do you hear me now?
I can hear you now. We're pretty sure it's Paul, right?
I just came in time for the summary.
Yeah.
But it was a very good one.
Short and sweet, this one, everyone.
Yeah.
Short and sweet, but powerful. Powerful. We have a uncooperative.
No, she's not. She's joining.
She's not.
She's joining. She's not uncooperative. She's just...
Okay.
She just wanted it to be longer.
I'll make you guys bigger then.
Jeg tror kanskje vi bytter plass, Lillian, så er du nærme mikrofonen, så du kan spille. Å!
Nei.
Okay, then.
Du må komme deg opp da, så folk ser deg.
Nei.
Kom igjen. This has been another unauthorized and rum-fueled treasure hunt in the sharky waters around the Gatsby Islands with pirate Queen Raae. I'm your host, Captain Uravia, and this is the Pirate Princess.
See you next week.
Wait.